and the Warp Spinster here. Thanks for hanging out with me today. We are going to be working on our villages. It makes a village, and this is the one I'm ultimately looking at. But we're ready to start the roofs on the one we worked on last time. And I'm going to applique the roofs on so that they can overlap and I don't have to do a lot of fussy, tiny end triangles to put on. So they are going to be appliqued on. I'm going to be appliquing the roofs on this, both because I don't want to deal with trying to do, the roofs are going to overlap the houses next to it, and rather than trying to do some intricate piecing of the points where it overlaps, which is moot now that I have these pieced, I'm going to applique. Plus, I think you could do some fun things with the applique. So to do that, because we already have, we're using scraps and we already have these triangles cut, I'm going to use Steamosine 2, which is a double-sided sticky fusible web. So it's a fusible web and you can absolutely use it the way you do more traditional Steamosine 1 or others. But it has paper backing on two sides, so you could draw on one side or the other, and then it's got a grid here for if you want to draw or place things on it. But the thing that I like about this is that you can peel back one layer here and then lay these pieces on. It's sticky, so they will stick there, but you can pull them up and move them if you want to. It's repositionable, is what they call it. So I can just lay these out, and then I'm going to be able to, first of all, use pieces that are already cut, but also I can once these are fused, then I'll be able to cut around there and get rid of all those ravelly edges. So I would just lay these out. I could get them closer together, but I want to make sure I'm not fusing those ravelly edges onto the neighbor here. So you could take more time and be more careful with that and lay out as many as you want. Then I can just put this paper backing back on there and then press through here. It's not going to stick here in between, and I could actually do some cut here, around here a little closer, and then I'm saving this. So let me do that somewhere I've got some decent sized scissors. Although actually those are my good scissors. You're going through sticky stuff here, so I'm just going to trim fairly close here and leaving both layers of the paper on. You can be much closer here if you want to, but at this point I'm trying to catch all of the edges so that I can trim off the funky threads. So now I'm just going to go to the iron, and Emily will help me to fuse this. And now I have pressed it. It's going to be hot after you press it, so be sure you let it cool on the mat before you touch it. Don't burn your fingers. And now this paper will peel off. Some of the adhesive may come off with it, but no matter. And now I can cut around these, and they will be ready to fuse. I can find my ruler and cutter here. And I'm going to cut off a little bit of the edges just to make sure that I get a good clean edge, at least at this point. And I will see you back here when I've finished that. You can see here how I've shaved just a little bit off I just cut this green piece off, or orange piece off. And I left behind just a little bit of the edge just to make sure it's a nice clean edge. Here are the pieces I just showed you, and here are the roofs for this piece that I did off camera. And now I don't really know where all these pieces went. Some of them may be for the other. Now, again, the nice thing about Steam Machine 2 and why I'm using it here is because I can peel off the backing, and be careful, you don't want to ruffle the edges again. It's got some temporary sticky on there, so I can position it there. I do not remember how these went. Maybe I will. I think, oh, that one definitely wouldn't go there, would it? And perhaps one of these up here. That's a big old overhang. This one, I think it might go here, although I might have wanted it to go the other direction. Too late, now it's fused. And now I can figure out how I want these to overlap. But the ones that I'm pretty sure I know where I want, I can remove the backing, fold back a corner. My fingernails are in rum shape right now. And stick it down, see how I feel about it. And just know that I can move it if I so desire. Peeling back another corner here. Sorry, I'm doing it off camera because you know that it will work better if I'm not trying to do it on camera. And I just stuck it to itself. Peel it up again, and now I've got a little bit of a loose hair here. My block is getting pretty hairy around the edges too, isn't it? Move that up. Put that one down, and I'll just continue to do this till I have them all laid down. And then it will be ready to applique. And now these are ready to applique. And of course I have my usual applique choices. This looks a little crooked. And I'm looking at it from the angle, not head on, so you can probably see things that are crooked that I can't, but maybe the roofs are crooked. Maybe a storm came through and blew a shingle off course, so to speak. So that will be ready to go. I could do applique with invisible thread. I could use a matching thread. I could use a contrasting thread. I could use the same thread, say white, for all of them. And I could use any stitch, of course. But remember that you've got these sharp corners, which are always more of a challenge when you're doing machine applique. So decide how you would like to do that. I think I'm going to do mine in invisible thread and maybe a narrow zigzag stitch. Let's do one of them that way, and I'm going to put some stabilizer underneath it as well. Do I want to use invisible thread? I'll think about that. There's something else that I want to try for a roof, and that is to do a sort of shingled roof. And here's my plan. I'm going to create the shingles with pleats and then fuse a completed pleat, onto Fusible, and then cut the triangles in the shape that I want. So shape that I want in the size that I want. And I'm thinking maybe I will do that for one of these houses, because these are just pretty straightforward geometric shapes more than really trying to be realistic with the houses. And I'm not really trying to be realistic here, obviously, but it allows for a little more funkiness going on. So let me show you how I'm going to do that. I hope. I'm going to take a strip of fabric that I know is going to be as wide as I want the triangle to be, probably a little bit more, and longer than I think I'll need because, of course, the pleats are going to use more fabric. And then I'm just going to fold a mountain, I guess, and fold it up and just do pleats. Try and keep them even. You may, of course, mark the pleats, measure and mark. I don't plan to do that. And then just keep folding up. They probably need to be fairly narrow pleats because, oops, this is not going to be a huge house, a huge roof. And I think I'll do just one more and call that good. And then I'm going to take this to Emily and press it. As I said, I'm not going to be really particular about the pleats, but because these are kind of funky houses anyway, but you may be as particular as you want. You may want to have those edges even. I'm not too worried about it because those are going to get trimmed off when I create the triangle anyway. So I am going to go and press this. I don't want that, all of that under there. It's a lot of bulk. And I will come back with my next step. So there are my pleats ready to press. Now, if I cut my triangle now and put that on my quilt, would this be a nightmare to quilt? Absolutely. You've got all kinds of opportunities to catch the hopper foot or the presser foot, depending on how you're quilting. So I'm going to top stitch these pleats down. Ooh, it might be kind of fun. No, I don't think I can do that. That would be fun, but hard to quilt. So I'm going to do some top stitching here. Again, I can do it with invisible thread. I could do it with a matching thread. I could do it with a contrasting thread. To be perfectly honest with you, I'm feeling lazy today. And I have white thread in my machine, and I kind of want to see how that looks with a contrasting color anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and top stitch this close to the edge so that neither a presser foot or hopper foot could get caught on that. And here's our pleated piece. Now you lose some of the dimension of it, of course, because you're stitching that down instead of letting it puff a little bit. If you think there's too much bulk, you can always come back and trim off some of this overlap that you have here. I'll be doing mine with my long arm, and I know that Molly will be able to handle this, so it's okay. Now it's not perfectly straight. I can straighten it when I, after I've fused it, when I cut it into the triangle shape. Then, of course, you'll want to decide whether you want the shingles going down or up, and to me it makes sense to go down, but these are funky houses, so you could do it the other way as well. Now, when you're sewing these, you could, of course, use a decorative stitch across here. Just make sure that it's dense enough that there's no chance that your hopper foot is going to catch it and pull that back. Might be a little nice extra dimension, but it would be pretty irregular. Depending on how you feel about that, that might work for you. So now I'm just going to go ahead and fuse this with some more Steam-A-Seam 2. Fuse the back there. I might trim that a little bit, maybe. But this is no worse than having seams coming together, crossing each other. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and cut the triangle, and then let's see how it looks in one of the houses. I am back with this fused. Remember, it's hot after you press it. Do not lean on this forever. You might think that the longer you lean on it, the stronger the adhesive, but in fact, you don't want to disintegrate the adhesive, and it doesn't require all that much. We are also going to be, when I fuse this to the house, to the quilt piece, then I can spend a little more time to make sure it's going to get another fusing, because you'll be fusing the other side. So now I can peel off the paper. I love Steam-A-Seam too. No connection with them. I don't get paid to say that. They don't give me any products. I just really like it. Now that I'm here, I can cut whatever triangle shape I want. Now, of course, I could have used a more efficient, shall we say, efficiently sized piece for doing it. It could be longer, and then I could cut out more triangles, but I'm using scraps, and I had that scrap strip. I could make a couple of funky triangles and do it this way, and then I'd have a couple of interesting roofs, but that's not what I'm going for. So first of all, I want to straighten up this bottom edge. That's going to be the bottom edge of the roof because the shingles are going downward. So I'm going to sort of line them up with the pleats, although I was not exact in my pleats. You might have been. Not on the fabric, but it's about there. I'm really not awfully worried about it, so I don't know why I'm marking it, but there we go. In case you want to do that. So now I have a mark to cut my triangle. Oops. And then it looks like I'm going to have some little side things, some side roof pieces. And this is going to be a pretty tall roof. Which, now see, I've got these two little ones. I may as well trim those up as well, because I could use them somewhere perhaps, and I hate to waste the fabric and the pleating. You can probably still hear Emily when she's in the kitchen, can't you? And when I'm doing these very edges, you could see I trimmed off some of the sewing there. You probably want to get these fused and appliqued down fairly quickly so those stitches at the edge don't start pulling back. And there we have some roofs. Now I'm not ready to applique a roof on here yet, but let's say I wanted this roof to be here. Then I have a little bit of extra texture and dimension on that roof. I don't know that I plan to do, I'm not going to do that on every roof. Ooh, how would these look pleated? Wouldn't that be fun? There's an idea. And then I might also use it, say, down here, and the shingles are going to be going the wrong direction. I'd have to decide whether or not I care about that. May not. I could also have some diagonal shingles across somewhere. That actually is kind of fun, isn't it? It's not so much mimicking shingles as just adding, oops, probably can't see that, as just adding some more texture to it. Kind of like that, actually. And you could also have a back, and I could do, this is really kind of backwards from what I need, but I could do another little funky chimney kind of thing on a house as well. Now, you probably can think of some other ways to add some texture and dimension to the roofs and to the houses, for that matter. It was just one that came to me this morning that I wanted to share with you. Now, these are not ready to prep and fuse the roofs yet because I haven't put these together. Not entirely certain how I'm going to do that, if I want these to be built right next to each other, where they're in each other's faces all day and all night, or if I want them separated here. Could be a combination of both. This could be one really big topsy-turvy house. but I kind of like them with a little space in between too. So maybe I could have both. Frankly, I may be liking that better now that I'm looking at it. It looks like a better, I don't know, layout, cohesion, ties everything together better. This looks more like some shapes that I just plopped down somewhere. It will make a difference, of course, if I'm, piecing the strips in between. If I piece these right next to each other, then I would do it just as I did here, where I have the strips that then are sewed together, and I can adjust the placement of the houses as it's going up the hill. One thing I was thinking I might want to do is have it winding up the hill, so this one might in fact be, this is going to be hard to see, it will go off frame. So that one, both of them could be going uphill. Not getting very much of that in frame. Or I could have it go the opposite direction, where this is going downhill. So it's kind of winding around a mountain or something. And I could make it much wider. I could make it just long and narrow. There are so many choices and so many more houses to make. I think it'll be fun, but we're not going to do that today. I think that's going to be it for today, is doing the applique and the pleat there. And I don't know for sure when we'll be back with this. We might possibly be back with this on Wednesday. This will be it for today, and this will actually be the last Sunday edition of my videos, at least for a while. Lots of things going on and other things happening. I'm just going to do once a week for the time being, at least. It will, besides giving me Sundays, it will also allow me to be a little more deliberate, I guess, with how I do things, so I'm not jumping back from Sunday to Wednesday and then do something different on those days. So I think there's method to my madness. I just need to cut it back to once a week for the time being. So for today, thank you for joining me. Hope you enjoyed it and are making some little villages of your own. I would love to see some of your ideas on Instagram, or you could go to the Warp Spinster Facebook page and post some photos there. I would love to see what you're doing. So I will see you again on Wednesday, and then again the following Wednesday, and I think we'll do some more work on this. I might wrap up a little bit with what I did last Wednesday, which, as you'll recall, was not necessarily my favorite, but see if we can dress it up and do some things. My philosophy is, if you end up not liking it, just keep working on it till you do like it, or pitch it. So let's see what we can do. We'll learn some things in the process, which is what this is all about. Thank you. I will see you on Wednesday then. In the meantime, be well, be safe, be happy, be quilting. Peace.